All right, here we go. Good morning, guys. It is a chilly one out here with Pierce Nelles from Wisconsin Sportsman today, but we're not in Wisconsin, are we?
No, we're not. No, we're cheating today.
We're somewhere a little bit cooler. Fresh baked, only frozen ones.
Yep.
In the car.
Exactly, that's what I like.
This will be okay because I can stop puffing and puffing into the camera for a second.
Derek really likes sheds.
This is the thickest stuff I've seen all weekend.
Yeah.
Talked about in the video, and just fast forward to this part. This is how you do it. He works the dirt. He works the dirt. Oh. If I had to pick a spot where I thought a big buck was going to be standing at some point, late October, early November, he'd be right there along that down undisclosed location, but we are in Iowa this morning. And we're going to go check out a property that you spent a little bit of time on this last season.
Yep.
But we've got some interesting winter gear here. Yeah. This pack is filled up. We've got hip boots and waders. There's a pretty good sized river over here that we're stupid and crazy, and we're thinking about crossing it if we find the opportunity.
Yeah, I wanted to do it about a month ago when I had a shotgun with me, and I just never got around to it.
Was it frozen over or not?
It was
really?
not as bad as it is right now, but it was definitely had some shelf ice, and then the middle of it was still open. The nice thing about this place is like it looks nasty, but it's in most spots only like knee deep.
Ooh,
so
okay, I feel better.
Hopefully, that's still the case. Otherwise, we'll find out one way or another.
I'm not a real strong swimmer, and when Pierce took out, he had his Speedo swimming goggles. I got a little worried.
Just in case I had to go fishing for Derek. Yeah.
Where's my snorkel? No, we're excited to go walking and check this out. It's pretty cool. We're down in a big river bottom, so there's some sweet steep bluffs all around, and we're gonna go see if we can track down some cool sign.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks for coming with me, bud.
I'm stoked for it, buddy.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Just find the biggest, heaviest looking deer track, and look where he crossed.
This is ice right here.
Oh yeah, it's not deep.
No.
But it's...
I know it can get deep in the middle. I know it gets shallow further around this Oxbow, but I'm not feeling great about this spot just yet.
So definitely some dark spots and where it looked like it was moving.
Yeah, a little crack in the shelf. But you can see, I mean, this whole Oxbow down here. And the nice thing about this is, I mean, it still cuts across right where we came across there. But
the public?
Yeah, the public does. But this whole bottom down here is effectively open. And that goes up that ridge and wraps around. And on the private, like we saw on the way in, there's still CRP over there. So, and I believe they've got some food plots and stuff over there. So hopefully.
So that side of the river, is probably pretty good.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping just this little Oxbow is pretty good because nobody can get to it really.
Earlier, so like say like October, right when your archery season opens, is it shallow enough where a guy could get across and
sure. Hip boots like that? Yeah. Totally.
You think that
was one of my plans actually, like on the further point down there, because it looks spooky and murky. But I went down on the other side of the river. There's another access point, and I went down there, and I found this one kind of a hub that was real torn up and had kind of those early season rubs. It's actually just after I talked with you. We were talking about early season rubs and those first ones kind of being the hot spot, especially at that time frame. And I was scouting down there and ended up bumping a deer and ended up tracking him like right up to his bed. That was just kind of like on this knob looking over that little drainage down there. And I thought to myself, like, if I could just throw the hip waders on or even just wet wade across this thing in the morning, like the whole thing, it's just a sand flat and it's knee deep. So like I could do that.
It wouldn't be bad.
You know, just rock the Crocs on the way in. And
then that's what's nice about a little bit bigger river like this. Even if it's shallow, this definitely looks more intimidating than like you walk up to an 8-foot wide creek and you're like, oh, 100%. I'll just hop across that.
Yeah.
Like most guys maybe look at this and they're like, nah, not for me. I'll just hunt this side.
Dude, totally. And like e-scouting especially, and you know, when you've got a state like Iowa, where you've got so much non-resident pressure, folks are e-scouting and they see this, like, everybody's going to look at this Oxbow and think like, oh yeah, that looks awesome. That looks great. But everybody's also going to look at this river like, I don't know how I'm going to get to it.
Yeah.
There's no way I want to get a deer out of there, whatever it may be.
I think you're definitely going to knock off the majority of pressure, just exactly what you just said.
Well, just the legwork of dragging a canoe in here even is enough to make most guys have to think about it. But
when it becomes a chore, it becomes a lot less doable for most people.
Yeah, exactly.
But not idiots like us.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll keep looking for a crossing spot, I think.
No, definitely. Well, they're so short, I guess technically you can say they're short, that they don't look like they're going to be that bad. But dude, so like when you come into hubs and stuff like this in hill country, like, do you tend to gravitate towards the bottoms initially and then work up after you find the sign, or do you start high and go low?
Tony and I had that same conversation yesterday. What we did yesterday was we kind of cruised the tops and just kind of picked out spots on the map that had like all the good buck bedding stuff that we found yesterday that I thought was like the really good stuff wasn't like out on an isolated point. Like a lot of like buck bedding, you think that they're gonna be on the point. A lot of them were where there was a steep drainage coming in to a main drainage, and there was like a little bowl in the terrain up on top.
Sure.
And they were able to look up a drainage and down in the main valley. So their view was like a 270-degree. I can see everything below.
Sure.
Where on the point, you can see a lot, but like you're seeing one valley. Everything I found yesterday that looked good was like where a steep drain led into a main valley, and they had like a wraparound view.
Sure.
So we kind of started on top and we're looking for sign and kind of cruising where we thought they would bed. And then once we hit the bottoms, like going down, because we just were traversing ridges is how the property laid out. But when we hit the bottoms, yeah, we were like looking like, where's the hub scrape at? Where are they dumping in? And then we were kind of following sign up to pick the next ridge.
For sure.
So we did a little bit of both, to be honest.
Gotcha.
But yeah, usually the bottoms on any property, whether it's hill country or even like flatter stuff like back home, if you are in the bottom close to water creeks, that's where you're gonna find the concentration of sign always. So it's a good place to start.
Yeah, definitely.
You wanna rip through this?
Yeah,
right
let's
away?
scamper up there, see what's what.
Whew.
The legs feeling all right after yesterday?
Actually, surprisingly good.
All right.
I took care of them last night, took a nice warm shower, did some stretching.
Attaboy, yeah.
Ibuprofen. We got through it.
The burger and the beer definitely played a part
that
into
did
it
not
for
hurt.
sure.
That felt great.
Yeah, sweet, man. Let's
Made
jump
some
up
friends
there.
at the local establishment. They
There
were
you
like,
go.
Everyone knew everyone. So this lady came up to me. She's like, "What's your story, honey? You're sitting here by yourself, not talking to anybody." I was like, "Well, you can be my friend."
There you go. Yeah. Do you happen to have like 300 acres of primo land by the
How
chance?
close of a friend do you want to be?
Well, let's get up there and see what we can find.
I don't know, this little bench right here is actually, speaking of Tony, we had just talked about sort of those middle of the hill sort of staging areas for when the thermals switch. And this one in particular, like, might catch a little bit of sun in the morning, so he catches a little bit of a rising thermal, but he can for sure smell everything else down below, like him sucking down this draw. But like you said, you got a couple of beds here and a hell of a rub.
Yeah, really nice rub here. And I mean, I'm glad you kind of just mentioned that about like the thermal thing, because this is such a small, just simple little dip in the terrain with these two little bottoms. But if a buck is going to cruise up into a spot in the morning, I mean, either dipping down through here, like you said, to catch, the scent of anything up here, or even coming up from this bigger bottom, from that bottom field. I mean, this is such an easy little spot that I'm sure some buck is doing that and leaving some sign, but just to catch kind of the thermals from all over. And then he comes up, if he's standing right here, he's smelling anything from there, from here, from this ridge, and he can kind of make his choice.
Yeah.
Which direction do I want to go? Where do I want to bed?
Well, I would bet too, with all the dead falls, and like we were just talking, like the conservation crew's been in here cutting a bunch of trees, but like I know from a month ago, we jumped 7 or 8 does off of it, this area. I don't know if all the exact hub or the exact point or not, but like the other thing too is like this little flat right here doesn't show up on any map.
No.
You're not gonna find that unless you're actually in here. But also, like, look at how much we can freaking see from right here.
Yeah.
Like, all the way over to the other side of this draw. I mean, shoot, we can see what's walking across the top of it over there. We can see this entire bowl right here, and like, look pretty dang far, almost all the way up to that food plot on private. So,
I mean, I'm not jumping to conclusions and saying this is a spot a guy should absolutely hunt, but if a guy wanted to hunt here, man, you could climb up on top of one of these little rock outcroppings, and on the backside, it's super steep there.
Yep.
So if your guy came in and just like walked through that bottom, you know, kind of out of the way, and came up and just sat up on top of here, you could let those bucks come right below you, and hopefully your thermals are pulling off that steep side. And
totally.
you might be able to just freaking sit on top of that rock and see something. That'd be kind of cool.
Dude, definitely. Yeah, and that's like, I mean, Tony and I were talking about that too. Like, we hear everybody talk about like finding buck beds and, you know, the challenges and obsession people tend to have with hunting a buck in his bed. Like, you can do it, but it's fucking hard. Sorry,
Well, yeah.
I swear on this.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's freaking hard, and you're much better off doing like you just said. Like, find a spot where you can kill him on his way to or from bed.
This feels like a spot that maybe he might come through here trying to pick where he wants to go to bed.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Yeah, I didn't even thought of that. Especially with that ag down on the bottom. There's no reason he wouldn't come straight up out of that field. We saw how many deer tracks on the way up.
There's a
here and
couple.
rubbed on it.
Yeah.
Like, come straight up here, follow the trail that you and I just walked, whether it's on that side of the draw or that side of the draw. And yeah, they can kind of sit right here and assess everything going on and then make a choice from there. Absolutely.
Yeah, at some point, somebody was using this little spot.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Keep open, you know. Just trip on that 80-inch side.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Maybe not here. But somewhere else.
I'll find something else to trip on here. It's not an now. Okay.
Working my way up there, and I got probably, I don't know, like where that, like sort of fatter oak is over there. I just leaned up against it, was just still hunting that, but hoping to catch something.
Yeah.
Working the down, you know, the down lower, I guess, edge of the ag field up there. Unfortunately, only does, but
I mean, pretty obvious here how you had the right idea because it seemed like they're just filtering off on there.
Right.
These little knobs. Catch them at some point.
yeah. Well, you got how many trails cutting in and out of here too. And, yeah, like we just saw down in that draw. You know, they might come up there just to catch a little bit of. That's where I often get like. Sometimes you know how you get keyed in on like one thought process of like
I'm very
process,
guilty of
and so
that.
it's like, okay, bottom edge of a field or something like that, because that's where all the thermals are going to be falling from and all that, and then you know we go just over this little ridge here and that draw, and like, oh, that's where they actually were, and here's why, because you got that whole hub down below that can run from where we just took that video of the big rub and all that. They can go from there in a straight line up to this field or vice versa, and
In a spot as small as this, right? There's one big bottom. It's real steep. I feel like this is a spot you might have to put a little time in to learn how the bigger bucks are using
Totally.
it. But I feel like they probably have some very specific little route that they're able to like maximize. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like for the amount of movement they're doing through here, they know that if they hit this little drainage, they're going to be able to smell this. And I think over time, if a guy can figure out what those little spots are,
totally.
that's how
Those
you'd have to
bucks know
capitalize.
exactly when they need to do that. They know exactly when the thermals are going to switch so that they can check everything up on this knob. And that's where, yeah, like if you can leverage something like that, where you've got this little bowl here that should, in theory, suck your thermals down towards the water over there. Hopefully, you'd be bulletproof in a tree like this or one of these guys here, and you'd be able to catch something working up across this knob. But like you said, you got to put in the time for it.
I mean, and we had this conversation yesterday too, that like the first spot was more rolling, kind of more similar to the smaller terrain. And once we got into the bigger ridges, steeper shit, we were just saying like it's much easier in that big, huge, super steep terrain because everything's just way more consistent and the deer movement is just like they have to do this.
Right, exactly.
Whereas when it's smaller, like this, like how many fingers did we just walk across in this little bitty space? Like 5?
Yep.
Like which one do I go on?
Yep.
Like it's so much more spread out, and that's where like once you figure out how they want to move through here, the end of October or whatever, that's when, I mean, you see a big buck do something here, take freaking note of it, because there's a reason he's doing it. You know what I mean?
It's also the beauty of, like, I don't know, not overlooking smaller pieces though. Like, I kind of have gravitated more so towards those like really tight, limited thing where it's like they have a bluff or they have an ag field, or they have a river and they have, you know, a cliff between them. They have to go either here or down here, and there's only so many areas that they have to escape. And so if they're gonna do it, they got to do it freaking fast, or they got to do it freaking carefully.
I absolutely agree. And to be honest, without saying too much, looking at the property like on the map, with it being tighter like that, like I think that also like keeps people out. It's like, oh, there's not that much room to roam. If somebody's in there, like there's going to be, you know, nothing. So
absolutely,
you got two things working for you. Just got to figure it out now.
Exactly, that's the fun.
All right, are we dropping back down, or does this kind of wrap?
Let's drop back down.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah, oddly, like not a whole lot of sign up here.
No, you would think cut cornfield.
Stuff there. There is another hang-on stand, I think, down this point.
Is there?
If I remember right, yeah. But
yeah, there's a whole bunch of charred stuff. They must have. The Jackson or the
Jackson County Conservation Board.
Things that I had thought about earlier this week when I was scouting, like kind of in preparation to this to get the juices flowing, is like similar property to this where it's like fairly narrow ridge, really steep, drops down into a river bottom. You kind of find like that cruising altitude on the ridge where it's like, okay, like we just found a rub here, another rub right there. Like if they are using this, and like it's explainable why, right? Like below the military crest, so they're not going to be skylining themselves. You know, if there's hunters in ag or whatever, like they're not going to be able to get a crack at them from there, so they can kind of tuck down here. These little bowls too, not to keep bringing up Tony, but like I know you guys were talking about it the other day, and I was in a recent episode just about like how bucks use these bowls and stuff to kind of like come up and they just monitor everything going on around them. Like it sort of creates like a micro hub for them where they can gather a bunch of intel and then decide which way they want to go.
Absolutely. And it doesn't hurt when there's some nice oaks all around that little bowl.
A million red oaks,
While
Definitely.
they're monitoring, they can grab a little snacky poo.
Yeah.
I mean, the egg field up top too is cool because there's a whole bunch of brushy shit, like little fingers that come off of it, so it just makes, you know, that much more user friendly for a buck when they've got that cover to cruise, and this is a sweet little inside corner.
Yeah. Do you think, so like just with the assessment of this little pocket right here, like we've got corner of an ag field literally right, I mean, 40, 50 yards up the hill from us. This little bowl here, clearly like sort of a trail at an altitude that they seem to be comfortable at. Like, do you look more towards morning or evening for this, or more, I guess, rut time frame, trying to just gather as much data as possible?
I think this particular spot, if you had some sort of northwest, west-ish wind, I think this would be an awesome midday to afternoonish spot, because a guy could come in up here. This is going to be hitting full sun because we're kind of like southwest facing.
Yep.
So this is going to be full sun. So if a buck is cruising, I mean, as far as pinching, it's a huge pinch right here, right?
Totally.
With the field.
Yep.
But he can walk into the wind from like the private there, into the wind, and have the rising thermals. So every time he comes over one of these points and hits these little bowls, he's going to have everything coming up from the bottom. Which
For
is
sure.
Where we walk through. That's where all the does are traveling through to go up and in. So he's kind of getting a little bit of everything. And then he's got wind in his face, thermals in his face, and he can kind of just run this edge. And if he smells something he likes, he dives down on these little trails that we were just looking at.
Yep.
So I think in the afternoon when they're cruising, setting up in a spot like on this little spine, if you came up here and hugged tight to the steeper shit where there's not as many deer trails, and a guy just kind of let, you know, you'd have to have a little bit of maybe northerly just to kick it down that bluff.
Yep.
But that buck's going to have every advantage.
For sure.
And you might just get it off where that buck wraps around and follows this elevation line you were just talking about. That's,
Yeah. Scamper right up there. Keep wrapping down along here.
he smells something he likes coming in and out of the field, he's off to the does.
Absolutely.
That would be my guess. Was there a lot of acorns this year?
Yes.
Tons of red oaks, yeah. Yeah. Well, we were just up there where we found that series of rubs kind of on that elevation line where they seem to like, and sure enough, right down here, just found a nice little bed rub here. And one of the things that's kind of a constant on this piece is like deer bedding where they can monitor access. So the access trail runs right down through the bottom there, and like we were saying, if we were going to access this elevation line, we'd either come up this draw or we'd come up the one just on the other side of this cliff here. So from here, they can do pretty much everything they need to do.
Got his peg already.
Yep.
And there's a carcass right down there, and 2 ravens or 2 crows took off, and then Pierce just spotted another dead deer here down on the ice.
Weird spot for deer to die. Like,
I wonder if
the ice broke and then they were struggling to get up on the shelf, and then
I feel like, well, I mean, it's very possible, but I also feel like if they were, maybe, I don't know, if coyotes.
maybe they were dehydrated and they were just trying to get to water.
I mean, everything freaking comes down, so if it was anywhere on here and coyotes messed with it,
Yeah.
I'm sure it probably... Is that a freaking tree down over there? What's that? Is that from freaking coyotes?
It's like beavers.
Beavers.
Beaver
yeah.
slide.
Yeah, I suppose there's probably a lot of beavers in this big
Yeah.
river. All right, so this is a knob. You can see we got some pretty good snow going on here now. But this is one of the knobs you wanted to come back and check out, like this big Oxbow here, right?
Yeah. So we're on this access trail right here, which pretty much runs this whole bottom down here and then wraps up around there. So one of those spots that, like, if you are somebody who is going to go deeper into a piece of public and subscribes to the notion that, like, if you're within so many yards of the lot or the access point, it's not worth hunting, you're going to probably find yourself somewhere in here. And so a month ago, during shotgun, I came up here and had a marginal wind, and I was going to basically just try and get up and over this knob and wrap around the back of this Oxbow on the other side of this to try and just hunt this kind of opening down there. And found a bed right up on top of this knob. Started getting excited about it and ended up jumping a really nice buck down in the bottom, who was bedded down there, kind of basically gathering all the intel that he could before he moved up to his afternoon bed once the sun got high. And this was like right at gray light when I jumped him. So he was just bedded down there, but I mean, he'd melted out 10 inches of snow laying down there that morning, whether it was that morning or the day before. But
So you think that bed up on top that you found first was his kind of like...
I think it's afternoon bed once the sun
He
got
transitioned
higher,
up to that one, and then
yeah,
he...
I mean, 70 yards apart.
Yeah.
And yeah, had plenty of cover in between them.
Both big beds?
Right along this, yeah, very big beds, right along this kind of cliffed out, gnarly series of deadfalls. So
Yeah, cool.
I didn't get a chance to look too much more closely at it after that.
Well, let's go find his antlers and hope he's not laying on the ice dead.
Dude, right?
It's kind of creepy too, because right back here we found a real big cave that something was going up in there. Hopefully we don't meet that guy, whoever's feeding on these. Snowing pretty good, dude.
Yeah, dude, more than I thought we were gonna get. I was just telling Derek, we're up on top of that knob now.
Yeah, we're way up.
I'm gonna talk about a scenic view.
Jeez.
Keep an eye on a lot of stuff. Like, this is it. So this is that first bed that I found that morning. There was one here, kind of oriented this way. Another one back here, oriented that way a little bit. But our access trail where we just were is straight down this hill, and everything down on this other side is just CRP and cedars that I ended up jumping this buck out of as I kind of scampered down the hill. But when I bumped him and he jumped out of that thicket, he'd beeline. You can't really see the cliff in this snow right now on the other side of the river, but
We can barely see 60 yards.
right. Well, he ran basically 150 yards or so across this bottom, busted through 3 inches of ice across this river, and then basically ran straight up a bluff, got up basically above where we are now, and then finally stopped there. I ranged at like 250 some yards from like this spot or that spot down there, and wasn't until then that he stopped and looked back to see what was going on.
That's how you can tell it's a pretty old deer, is that's when he stopped to reassess, when he was about 200 feet above you and across a river from you.
Yep.
That's impressive.
I don't even want to know how many times he just sat on that ridge and watched me over the subsequent days.
I would be interested to know how many times he was laying right up here and people just walked right on the trail around the base of this without ever knowing.
Well, and I found another guy's stand down over there. And his access trail was exactly that. It was just on this trail, followed down through this little dip in the ridge and like straight to his tree pretty much. So yeah, the number of times. And that's the crazy thing too, is like that morning that buck had been bedded down there long enough to melt out 10 inches of snow, like I said, you know. So like I got in there at gray light when I jumped him. So he had to have been laying there for figure at least, you would think, an hour.
For
if
sure.
not longer.
Yeah.
So, you know, you try killing a buck in his bed, like, if you don't know exactly where that deer's at, if I tried setting up either there or I tried setting up further up this draw, assuming he's running the bottom down there, like, you'd have to get in at 2 a.m. to beat him back. And even then, he's going to smell you when he comes in. So.
And that time of year is so tough, especially because they're not doing anything at night other than probably just feeding. And then they just want to get their spot. So like getting in there before them at that time is just so hard.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to take a look down in here because that looks really nice, dude. Cool spot. He's got big oaks, a couple of big white oaks right around him. Probably one of the best views I've seen in a while.
Yeah. It's a pretty spot, man.
Very cool.
Fortunate, our views. A little obstructed.
And this is just all cliffs, right? Down to the river?
Out down to the river, yeah.
Dang.
You can walk it, but it's dicey.
So Pierce and I just came down that bed that he jumped that really big buck off of in December. It was right up on the hill. So we came down to the edge here with the grass and the cedars, and we were just looking at a couple spots and talking about this edge. And you were saying that you think there's some does that usually bed down on this little flat below here?
Yeah, it kind of flattens out, then wraps down. I'm sure it's in the floodplain and stuff early season, but like you were saying earlier, there's along these river bottoms and marshes, you find those horsetails, whatever you call it. Like they either bed in it or they eat in it. And,
is there some of that down here?
Oh, there's a pile of it.
I just like this spot more and more, Pierce.
There's a reason I brought you here, buddy.
This is cool. Yeah, so we were walking this edge, and I was kind of, getting a little excited, and then we got to the corner here, and you can see somebody was hanging out here. This is ripped up pretty good.
Yeah.
There's definitely a big ground scrape here. Definitely a ground scrape. It's got that worked over. A lot of these are broken off from previous years, and somebody was digging some tines into this tree. Yeah, what a cool bunch of big white oaks right here. All right.
No fun at all.
All right, make me like this spot even more. Yeah, this is a cool spot, dude. I wish we could see a little bit better through the snow, but Pierce said when he bumped that buck, there's like a giant bluff right there, and that's where he went. He crossed the river and went straight up, basically a vertical cliff. I mean, it's so wide here, the water can't be too fast moving, but you're on the ice first, so I'm safe. This is where we make some decisions.
Yep. Yeah, and like you said, it can't be moving.
Is there another one?
Or no, it's just in there. Little opening in the ice right there. There might be stumps or rocks too. Like I said, it's pretty shallow in here from what I recall.
If anyone finds this camera in the river, just know that if you go upstream till you find a cool little oxbow with some cedars, it's a really good hunting spot. You're welcome for Pierce's spot.
Felt a little crack right there. Good one.
You're doing great, bud. Wow, look at that.
What's life without a little pucker factor?
Woo! We're in like Flynn. New level unlocked.
Dude, big time. This is where we find some actual guys.
Oh. First time in. Oh my god.
Watch it just be a buck.
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, so this is the Oxbow on the other side of the river, obviously.
Yeah.
That one that that buck bed that Pierce jumped him was up on top of that bluff.
Yeah.
So we just got across here, and this spot looked really cool from the other side because it was real brushy and had some cedars. So
Just massive wall, which I did. Again, there's CRP and private up on the other side of there, and I did see a lot of deer moving across this, which is cool. Like,
just like traversing the ridge.
Dude, it's like hunting almost like Western out here, especially when there's snow. Like you can just see them just do their thing
Oh, yeah.
all the way across. And you're so far away, you can do nothing. But yeah, let's dig into this spot and
I'm excited.
see what's what.
It looked really cool from the other side, obviously.
What are you most interested in? Like what, based off of what you saw from the other side, what are you more interested in checking out? Is it those cedars? Is it like other potential crossings? Is it what's going on up here?
Dude, I think this is obviously going to be a spot where there's going to be pockets of bedding in here. A lot of deer are going to bed in here. So I think as that relates to what's going on with this face, well, if we find a spot where they're going up or down, or obviously here it's going to pinch with the river. Like if you can find a spot where they have to travel through, or a buck is going to cruise it to figure out what's in here, depending how big this is, I think you can really, you can be in a kind of stupid spot in an area like this where your wind is just safe by the water, and you're going to get deer that just have to move through here to check this.
Totally.
Because they're not going to, I don't think they're going to be able to smell deer in here by being up on top of that cliff.
Yeah.
They could, but I'm just, yeah.
Well, it's a weird north-facing slope, so in theory, this bottom should be what catches.
They should want to be down here.
Yeah. Totally.
Right?
There's plenty of trails and stuff down here already. I'm already intrigued by it.
Yeah, let's check this all out real good.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of bedding up on that shelf right there,
Oh yeah.
way up the hill.
It's so hard to tell from down here, like what's
Yeah.
flat, but like it definitely looks like there's some substantial flats up there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, look how cool that is, dude. That's wild.
Gets cooler every time you come down. Yeah, so I mean, like clearly a heavily traveled, effectively wide open spot through this bottom. So I think you're hitting it right on the head. But it looks like maybe a scrape right there.
Yeah, I would guess.
Yeah, picks up. It's weird. It's not a dead tree. I think they want something with a little moisture in it, but even so, if they're scraping here, around that next tree, whatever it may be, and then they've got bedding just kind of spilling off out towards the water.
I haven't looked at the map in a minute, but yeah, it's this. This gets fairly decent sized, right?
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
I'm also not gonna lie, I'm a little bit in shed mode right now. I'm like, there's a pretty good amount of tracks eating on this grass. Let's find an antler, huh? It literally feels like your own little world. I should have flipped my camera on earlier, but we just came by. There was like a cool little signpost rub on a cedar. I think most of these cedars are probably going to be hit at some point or another. But this little bottom just feels so cool. It's all briars and grass, cedars. Just feels freaking tasty in here. Probably holds some pretty good doe bedding during season. I'm sure this is really, really thick. Yeah. Finding a place that offers you the most shootability.
Get on that, you gotta widen up the trunk that it would conceal your roof in a little bit. But like, if it goes on your trail and not my trail, it doesn't absolutely make it.
So it gets really thick with cedars right here, Pierce. This spot like is almost like the understory is all open because it's all like cedars. Yeah. But yeah, that's the other tricky part, right? Is you almost got to be in a bigger tree. Well, I guess it's fairly thick out here.
Yeah.
But like, you hunt close to the river.
I like that.
That's wet tree.
Right there. Yeah.
And that's not far off the riverbank. If a guy could sneak in off that bank, a huge trail right in front of you.
Yep.
That wouldn't be a terrible spot.
Is there a scrape on it somewhere?
I feel
honestly, what I found too is like a lot of these cedars end up getting scraped. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there was maybe not worked super hard, clearly, because there's just so many trees over here, but at least some semblance of a scraped line.
If a guy found a spot, I mean, we will find a spot I think that you would like to hunt, but then just pick one or two spots off to the sides, and if you put a mock scrape looking branch in here, it's gonna get destroyed.
For sure.
So yeah, this looks pretty good right here. It's real thick of cedar, so being right off the edge in a tree like this would probably be a pretty sweet setup.
Definitely.
Cool.
Very.
Looks like freaking Maine with all that cedar.
Oh, that's a nasty one.
So we're down in this bottom, of this oxbow here, just surrounded by this big, gnarly thicket of cedars. One of the things we've been doing is just kind of covering a lot of ground. Usually what I'll do in bottoms like this, where it's like deer are using it, they're going to be bedding down here, there's a highway, there's trails freaking everywhere, but there's not really, the sign's not quite there. So a lot of times what I'll end up doing is like take note of it, but no, I'm probably not going to set up in one of these cedars or in something that's as close quarters as this thicket, in opening kind of like this, where there's at least some historical rubs, kind of like that. There's an old bedding rub on that thin little tree on the other side there. That's where I start actually getting excited and start putting a plan together of, okay, they're going to be coming out of these cedars at some point. Where's the first spot that I could kill them? So in theory, right off the bat, I'm looking right at that thick tree right there, getting up in one of the crotches of that. It doesn't have to be super high, but just high enough that, I'm not going to be skylined, because I got the bluff behind me. Got some other brush, especially if there's some foliage, which that's a pro and a con, obviously, because if there's leaves on this sapling, I'm not getting an arrow over here. but it looks like some of these branches are busted up and there might be a scrape here at some point in the year, actually down low even. That's pretty fresh from this year, I just noticed that. But that's the kind of stuff where, you know, yeah, it looks deery, it looks all torn up, but if I can't kill them in that spot, I'm not really gonna spend a whole lot of time focusing on it. It's more just good to know until I find the first spot that I know I can potentially get an arrow in one, which for right here.
And this is why we don't use tree pegs. It kills the tree. Cool spot though. I like the spot he was in. All right, I'm gonna go find out what arrow pierces. Ooh, the tractor tire. That might be a semi tire. I don't know. I didn't find as much sign as I anticipated in this bottom. Lots and lots of old sign, but what do you think, Chief? What do you think?
Found one tree I can kill one in.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There's a.
Just finished recording it. Like
Did you?
these cedars and this thick, nasty stuff. Like it's cool. Yeah, we know that there's like a bunch of sign in there. You'll find like some little scrapes in there, but like to feasibly hunt it would be a nightmare. And like you even said, there's this outer trail that kind of follows the outside of the Oxbow. So even if you get in there, the odds of a buck probably just skirting the downwind side of that is pretty high. And then you're busted in that bedding area and you might not come back. But I found this one big old walnut that basically gives me a 30-ish yard shot to the very first cedar. Like I said, if you're coming along the bottom this way, but it looked like there were a couple of small scrapes kind of in this open spot here where you can hopefully would be able to see that deer coming, and then, or if he's coming out of those cedars, hopefully you get that crack. Because there was a kind of a cool little, it was like a knee-high scrape.
Really?
Cedar branches, yeah, but they were like freshly twisted and broke up, so a little goofy, but
I didn't see a
get me excited.
ton. I partially expected there to be a little bit more sign down here.
Oh, totally.
But
The rubs weren't here.
no,
That's for sure.
there's not a ton of trees to rub, to be perfectly honest. Like there's a lot of dead trees and stuff, but like I also thought there's gonna be a little bit more sign. But I think it's gonna look cool. You were talking about this point before, and I kind of just made my way to the tip of it. I think it's gonna be pretty sweet down here, dude.
Yeah.
There's a tree over here that I just found. It's got a stand strapped to it. It's dead. There's all tree pegs screwed in it. So I'm sure that's what killed the tree.
Yeah, right?
Now that tree is taking a nap. But yeah, dude, I mean, I just envision getting in here and just hearing bucks chasing does through this shit like all morning. You know what I mean? Like just bumping and nudging and pushing them up and pushing them around. It's very cool.
Yeah, dude, let's get up on that ridge and see what's what.
Yeah. Just saw a big coyote.
Did you?
Yeah, I got to the point there and he must have been down on this bottom.
Sure.
Took off and
This old dead tree here with an old hang-on on it. And one of the things that this property in particular kind of taught me to do is like you find other people's crap, or especially like what at the time was deemed a quote unquote mobile setup, and guys commit to a spot like that. Like if you're going to lug, I would imagine that thing weighs 25 pounds and another 10 pounds of tree pegs with it. Like if you're going to go to that level of effort, you would hope that they've got some background knowledge on the area, or that they're going to do it for a reason. So like, I guess with that in mind, like Derek, obviously if that tree were still standing, I guess that's the bottom of it, right? So like he'd have plenty of back cover right there. And there is a pretty good trail running down through here, but
Well, right before I found that, I was actually standing over there, and we'll go up to that point over there. So I was kind of looking for a tree set back up here for like a south wind. I was like, oh, it wouldn't be bad. I mean, it just makes sense that there would be just monster scrapes right around this point. 'Cause
Totally.
this big ridge drops down. The deer can come on and off, and then they got to go around that outcropping to kind of get through this river bottom. So I was kind of looking for a tree, and then I was like, oh, somebody had the same idea. And just like you said, that's a lot of steel to lug back a pretty good ways across a river.
yep,
There was probably a pretty damn good reason that guy was doing it.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really cool up here. Point of a giant ridge. There's obviously some buck sign coming down here. And then we got that thick cedar pocket is 80 yards away.
Yep.
Which we're kind of thinking is probably some doe bedding. So if a buck's gonna come down here, he's kind of gotta. I was thinking about trapping because we were just, talking about the coyotes and just saw a coyote. But it's like if I had to pick a spot where I thought a big buck was gonna be standing at some point, late October, early November, he'd be right there along that down log. Like he's gonna come around this point. He's gonna send check. I think this is a great spot for a camera to monitor what's going on, or even to hunt. And we'll see what we see when we go up there.
Yeah.
But it's looking good so far.
Well, I know I've got an affinity for split trees, but like that big fat walnut right there with that split, throw a saddle on that, hang on the backside.
Oh gosh, yeah, you're good.
See you later.
And having all that cliffing behind you is like, subtle back cover.
Oh yeah, dude, it's the best camo you can have.
It'd be perfect. You'd see some bucks wrap this, for sure.
Hysterical. No way. Like, I'm almost getting mad because how perfect it actually is. It's like we talked earlier, like that first big rub that we found was on one of those little flats, kind of on a point in a drainage. One of those spots that like they can kind of stage in and they can see a little bit. They can catch rising thermals. They can catch falling thermals. And Derek just asked me, like, was this an old homestead or something? Because there's an old foundation down here. And lo and behold, there's a freaking rub in it. So this is literally that buck's bedroom.
He's living in this house, dude.
Squatter.
Hey, if it's vacant for, what is that rule? Like for a while, you can just take over.
Yeah.
He's got his name on the deed now.
That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to throw a camera down here this year. And there's going to be a mega that lives right there. And we're just going to call him the squatter buck.
The squatter. Shot the squatter 12, bud. Dude, that's cool.
Like, dude, it's literally perfect because it's that low spot on this little flat. So it's like it's going to pool thermals really well. And like, how...
Dude, I found a spot that was not exactly like this, but set up similar in theory yesterday. On that second property I walked, I went down to this big bottom. And there's like two big ridges that kind of surrounded it. Big bottom, had some really good brush in it. And as I was walking through, I was going to go down to the creek bottom, but I saw this one little knob that was kind of in the middle of the bowl. And I was like, that would actually be a really cool like rut bedding spot where a buck could just overlook all of this bottom. Sure. And I went up there, and as I was going up, it was the same, like the cluster of trees. Yep. There's a great big rub on it. I was like, son of a bitch. Like there was none worn in the ground because like I don't think they would use it all the time. Yeah. But like imagine you're a rutting buck looking for does. Yeah, you know that's doe bedding. If you laid up here, look at this. This is like that 270-degree field of view. You literally see anything cruising, coming in across from the river. Be a really...
You can scamper right up this trail, go up on top there. So it's easy up, easy down. Plenty of escape routes if something were to come by.
Perfect spot for a squatter.
Yeah. I love it. Dude, that's one of the cooler things I've ever found.
That's funny. It's weird how that worked. It just seems like a cool spot they would come up and down. But yeah, this looks like this cool little branch was...
Yeah.
Some buck was playing around with that. It's kind of cool.
I'll blade it out too.
They got some trails. We were walking along the edge, that same old farm road. And it's just a nice low spot for them to come up and down right here.
Well, none of it's too aggressive either.
No.
It's just enough to funnel thermals in a potentially obnoxious way for us, but a really effective way for them.
Yes. There's been a huge scrape line down the old road that wraps this in the flat. Just scrape after scrape after scrape. But I would imagine it looks like this is almost like terraced. Like there's probably bedding on all these little flat spots like you mentioned before.
Yeah. Yeah, the only downside to it, I guess, is that this is like a north facing, which isn't a downside at all in reality, because that's going to catch a falling thermal effectively all day as they run this bottom. But I mean, it's the beauty of having a river that is oriented in the way that it is. You know, you got a north wind spot and you got a south wind spot, and so do the deer. This draw here, and basically walked straight up it. This trail came up. There's sort of an intersecting trail that went across, maybe halfway down it, but the main trail runs right along the top of this bench here. As I came up, I saw silhouetted a big ladder stand up in there, which is a little discouraging, but you know, you zoom out, you look at the private, it's one of those inside corners, but it explains perfectly why this bench right here is where it's at, and especially why we've got, okay, hold on, I gotta find them again. Why you've got this big cluster of, you know, fresh rubs here, like this one down here, pretty low. I would assume, you know, maybe a bed here, but we got red oaks on top, and this is right up towards the top of that big long point. Derek's down over in this little next bowl here, but this flat right up here is primo bedding and staging area, especially in the evening as those deer get ready to go up out that direction and the private for food, let alone they're bedding on these points all the way along this river here, whether it be here or headed over to the next side of this ridge that way. They're going to be cutting right through here. So good reason for that stand to be there, but also not a bad reason for myself to potentially see about hunting this flat, or at least dropping a camera in here just to see what's running across the top. Because I mean, this is the highest density of rubs I think we've found today. So that's definitely encouraging.
I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but there is a cell camera right here. There's a big trail. There's a private land is right up here. So there's a field, and then obviously we have a huge bottom, so it cliffs out. So these deer that cruise this edge, somebody's got a camera on it, and that's where that nice rub was. So we're gonna peek up and see if this is a field, egg field, or if this is some kind of CRP grass. But on the map, it's definitely some sort of opening.
A lot of the logs chipped up from bucks hitting their
Deer ducking underneath it? Look at that.
It's like worn. Dude, look at that. Get lower on it. It's just worn like smooth down there.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, big trail coming right up. CRP grass?
Look at that, bro.
Whew.
On that squiggly
That
tree?
curly one? Yeah. That's cool. Well, if we keep going this way, is there anything over there or no? We gotta come back down that point.
I think we gotta come back down on that point, otherwise we're gonna slide down on our butts.
Sadly,
down
that might be a dead tree.
Well, actually, I mean, we can walk this lower part of the, sort of walk that ridge all the way around.
We'll have to,
and hope we can get back across there, but
that might cliff out, we don't know.
Yeah.
I think that might be a dead tree, sadly.
Oh, really?
I don't know, because the top is like that too.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, what do you want to do, Pierce?
Let's drop down this point.
Yeah.
Cross back over where we know it's safe. We'll work that bottom down below there and make our way over and around.
Sounds good to me. Oh yeah, he was picking on this popple tree. That's hard bark. Hey, it's right on that line you talked about where you saw those other ones, right above the head of all these little draws.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty tall.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, right.
belly button.
I mean, this one looks like it's real steep. They just rim right around it.
That's the one you came up, right?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you were in the next one over?
Yep.
Guy had a cell camera in this little opening here on what looked to be probably a big scrape.
Can work with that.
There's a signpost rub on that cedar up there too. Same line.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's dead.
larger, wider buck that I sent you that picture of, but wants to use a little bit more beam than time.
Yeah. Dude, that one was cool. Pierce ran a camera in here, I think in like August, September. He had a picture of a real beautiful, big, typical 10. I think that's one of the reasons we were kind of trying to figure this spot out.
So we're down in this bottom, kind of below a big southeast facing kind of rim that runs along here. When I was here back in December, this whole hillside was just littered with doe beds, and I saw a number of does run down the bottom here. I mean, I saw does, I saw coyotes, I saw spikes, I didn't see a big buck. That big buck was right around the end of this knob here. So kind of doing a little bit of inspection because it's weird, really dense red oaks and cedars on the inside of this. And we just found a really tall rub a little further back in there that would probably imply some daylight movement, but I'm gonna keep walking this because there's a big drainage that kind of spills down here, and it's really the only efficient way up this, or up to the top of this rim over here, except for wrapping around all the way to the end of this knob and then coming up that way. So we'll see what we can find here.
All right, we're working through a bottom, kind of wrapped the main, that little CRP with cedar, the original knob one that we liked, where Pierce jumped that big buck. Kind of came back to there. We wrapped it around, coming through this bottom, and there's a bunch of these planted oaks, and it is absolutely demolished with scrapes. Every one of these oak limbs that's like 4, 5, 6 feet from the ground is just destroyed and scraped up. But that's been very well noticed by other hunters, and there's 2 ladder stands along the creek. There's a hang-on stand right over here, and so there's some pressure here, so we're kind of disregarding that a little bit, and we're on our way to another oxbow. But one thing that I've noticed scouting with Pierce today is that he is always thinking about wind and thermals in every spot as he's scouting it, and kind of helping him determine where and what to scout, which is pretty cool because a lot of folks, myself included a lot of the time, are kind of looking for sign and then figuring out what wind and thermals are doing. And he's kind of taking it to the extreme level of like thinking about that every second and where to go based on, well, if this is doing that, then he's probably doing this. He was just explaining how he set up on this little bluff one morning and saw tons of deer working through this bottom, and none of them had smelled them because he was just sitting in a spot where the sun was going to hit first as it came over the bluff. So all the thermals were dropping into this bottom, and these deer were taking advantage of that and cruising down here, checking to be safe. And he was just up above a little bit, and it played off perfectly and went undetected. So that's definitely one of my takeaways from scouting with Pierce this morning. Another beautiful hang on. I missed the other side of the river where there was no stands.
I know, right? I was just starting to feel good about this bottom right down here, and then I remembered, oh yeah, there's that one over there, and pick that one out. This is peak public land ingenuity. Guys, here.
If you've been wondering, how do I get on big bucks? Let this be a lesson to you. You hang some oak branches because deer love oak branches. You go ahead and hang some cedar branches because why not? And then you hang some ropes. If you get bored, you can do like some jungle gymming. You hang those, and then the deer still say screw you, and they just go natural. Dude, he's tucked in there pretty good up there.
Yeah, it's a good spot, honestly.
It's kind of cool up in that big white oak.
Be great as long as the deer doesn't walk below or above you where you can shoot them,
which is gonna happen.
Yeah,
I pretty much guarantee it.
Yeah. It's
kind of cool. Looks like maybe that fence post was rubbed.
Yeah, it does.
Old fence post rubbed. Is this the draw you were saying?
Yeah, this draw right here. Yeah. There's another rope scrape up there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, see it? Or yeah. Swinging in the
yeah.
breeze. Yeah.
Yep.
This guy's got his bases covered.
This is the spot. Can you imagine how much tinks is within 20 yards of us?
Oh, it's a cancerous amount, I would imagine. It's that is one thing I've found scouting in Iowa so far is like, dude, people pick a hub and they just want to own it. Like back, I think it was Halloween, I was on another property and there was one hub that had a tree with 2 different angled hang-ons.
Oh, really?
And then in that same hub, 3, like the little, like you screw them into a tree and then stick a tree branch into them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like those little things. 3 of those all with the camera on them. Like you're basically covering like all 3 angles of the hub. It was unreal.
Making it cozy.
Making it cozy. Got to own the hub, folks.
I've seen some mock scrape setups, but this might be my favorite.
That's awesome.
This is solid.
The whole buffet.
14 yards away. Even more deadly.
The whole smorgasbord. And they still, dude, the fact that this one's like ripped off and like completely like just mangled compared to those things is
good to see that this, even in rural Iowa, they're still celebrating diversity and he's not
I'll say
segregating against any one looking choice. So, very nice.
Here.
No.
Oh, it's awesome.
So this is a good spot right here?
Yeah, so like one of the things I always look for, especially when I'm looking for a setup, is like a good leaning tree, or whatever it may be. Just something that, like, I don't know, if we're gonna be in there all day or be there sitting for a long period of time, the last thing you want to be doing is like rustling around and like getting yourself comfortable and stuff. The same thing goes for nap spots too. Like what you want in a good napping tree.
Yeah, give us what are we looking at here? Oh,
rearward lean.
Yeah.
I like something a little bit wider, kind of like this, but something that I can, you can settle in. Make sure you clear out your surroundings down there. Still have a good view, so if you hear something, you can, pop an eye open and kind of peek around, but this is what you want.
Yeah.
Scoot the pack up a little higher so you got a little bit of a pillow. And then if you're, got a face mask or something, I always recommend hunkering down, get nice and cozy, and tilt your back and set an alarm for 20-30 minutes, or don't. Just wait till nature calls. And this is one of my favorite spots on this piece for making sure you get a little shut eye and go in fresh for the afternoon sit.
I mean, I haven't seen this whole property yet, but I will say this does look like one of the better napping spots.
Oh, it's the best. You're out of the action, but you're not totally out of the action.
And you got the trickle of the river.
Oh, yeah.
Just put you right to sleep. God, I'm getting tired just thinking about it.
Escape route was effectively down kind of by those cedars over there. I actually never even went into this bowl, but I was on the back side of it where there was a pretty gnarly scrape. But yeah, this is a spot that I definitely want to unpack a little bit better.
It's kind of cool how that side, you get that big, wider drainage through there, a break in that really steep terrain.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that you're going to get some.
Well, it's cool too. It's that's my favorite part of hunting in the snow, is for scouting in the snow at least. Is like we can see this trail runs here, crosses here, goes all the way up that next draw.
Yeah, you can see them pretty good right here. We just got to ask Mr. Eagle up there, hey, what's the patterns? What do you see?
Right?
Please report.
Put your chirping and give us something tangible here. Yeah, let's wrap around this stuff.
Yeah, let's check this out. It's cool.
There's a bunch of red brush down there too. It's kind of a rarity so far that what we've seen. Like, we haven't seen a whole lot of red brush.
Yeah, this little looking branch is broken pretty high.
Yeah. It's still work down lower too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and at this point we're pretty far back down the river, so this is hopefully weeding out some of those guys that had ladder stands and hang-ons in the beginning. Hopefully we're deep enough where there's fewer people.
Somebody's lawn down here.
It's like a landing strip almost.
Yeah, right?
Still plenty of fresh tracks down in here from this morning. At least the past couple of days. I feel like we got quite a bit of snow this morning too. Like,
Our tracks were kind of, not covered, but definitely dusted in.
like 3/4 of an inch of snow on the brim of your hat right now. Love a good cedar spray.
I don't know, broke off. Unless he's hunting mobile. Just likes wildlife pictures. So we kind of looped around. This is the Oxbow. Big old landing strip here, and then it gets real brushy, full of briars. And there's a little gap through the mountains there, the cliffs. And there's a bunch of trails that work around coming through here. So we're kind of checking the spot out. This cedar looked like it had a couple scrapes under it. But and we noticed this. So pretty interesting spot for a camera. I'm sure he's getting some deer cruising this bottom, hitting the scrape, but we can't really figure out what was he doing with this information. We don't see any stands, so we're gonna do a little bit of snooping, but somewhere right up on this edge of the briars actually seemed like a halfway decent stand site. But now with that cell cam, I don't know if we'll dive into this too much or if we'll kind of just leave it be for whoever put that there. Yeah. Props to them, it's a ways back, so they did good getting it in here.
So I'm walking down in this bottom. Derek's up kind of on this next level. It's kind of nice how this property lays out because it's kind of river bottom. High bank goes up 10 feet, a big flat kind of in the floodplain, and then it goes up another 10 feet, and then the hill actually starts. But I saw a number of deer back in December bed kind of down on this lower edge. And when I just went down there to kind of check it out, it literally smelled like deer, like that kind of waxy sort of a deer scent that we all kind of know from finding one or dragging one out or field dressing one. But one of the things that it kind of reminded me of that a lot of folks don't think of is like with the water, I'll walk over to it so you can see it, but like with the water being right down here, like we all think in order to stay warm, the last thing you want to do is, have any moisture, humidity, like that's what makes you cold. That's what gives you hypothermia. If you get wet when it's cold, you're in bad shape. But what nobody talks about is when it's super cold. Now, obviously the river's froze shut right now, but when it's super cold and it's open still, that water is warmer than all the air. And so it kind of creates this weird little like thermal buffer area where there's a little more humidity and the air is just a little bit warmer coming off of that water. And so it's another good thing to pay attention to, even in late season, even when it's cold, that a lot of times does will bed right along this edge, or even bucks will too, close to the water to stay warmer. That's especially true on trout streams. I actually shot a doe back during the antlerless season earlier this year, or last year, I guess by now. She went down and bedded literally in the creek bottom, where the bank had kind of washed out. There's like a tiny little, it's kind of like this, honestly, but tiny little piece where it was mud. But she got down in the creek, walked the creek bottom up, and then tucked in over that, or underneath that. And it wasn't until I said a few cuss words and sent a text to my buddy that I was having trouble finding her that she finally decided to jump out and run away. And I got another bullet in her. But especially trout streams, where you've got like spring-fed, consistent water, that's something to pay attention to. Is if you got open water, all the water coming out of those springs is 52 degrees year-round. So in the summer, it's going to hold deer because it's going to hold cooler air. In the winter, it'll hold deer because it holds warmer air. But when you're hunting near water or rivers, don't overlook right along the water there, especially these high banks. More often, I've jumped so many freaking does below, like that are down below this on the downwind side, where they're basically trying to avoid bucks because they're not ready yet. And bucks will run this rim or they'll run this bottom down here, and the does will tuck in down here where a buck, unless they're swimming through the river, can't get to them.
There's gonna be some buck bedding in here. We just came down the river bottom, followed a real steep shoreline, And then we got this bottom here that's all on the public that Pierce wanted to check out. And as soon as we came around the corner, I could just see these younger trees. So we knew that it had been logged, and it looks really good. Really brushy, younger trees. We saw a bunch of fresh rubs right away. Nothing huge yet, but this just screams buck bedding. You seeing anything good? I just keep looking at all those twisted white oak branches going, God, food above, cover below. This is nice. So I'm still holding out for a shed antler. This, yeah, I mean, you can find an old one in here for sure. Yeah, that's one thing Pierce has been noticing here. He's been noticing a lot of deer that are actually bedding on like the lowest shelf right by the water. So everywhere we've gone, I've kind of taken the normal heavier trail routes a little bit higher up the base of the ridge. And Pierce has been spending a lot of time. He's going down there. There's like this flat, and then it drops down, and there's like a where the water line maybe comes up in the spring when it floods, but there's like another little bench, and it gets really brushy from probably getting flooded and then the water receding and all that grass growing up. But there's been actually a lot of deer sign of them bedding right down below by the water. So he's been checking that out. So that's a good little tip, is that like you can't even see it. When I'm walking the flat, the base of the ridge, you can't even see the dirt that he's going to look at, but it's been holding a lot of doe bedding, which is kind of cool. All right, old logging road going up here. And then on this side, it looks like a much older cut. I'm surprised I haven't seen any more big rubs here, but if I find anything, let me show you guys. There's some fresh tracks in here. I'm gonna get on that ridge right there. See if there's anything good on there. A lot of big old rubs down here. Nothing fresh though.
All right, so we're down in this bottom here, where it looks like over the last, I don't know, a couple of years here, they would have done some logging in here. Probably year 2 or 3 now, I would guess. And the stem count in here is just ridiculous. Derek's right up in there checking out the kind of the foot of this little point that drops down here. I'm sticking down close to the water here. There's a big main trail that runs down the bottom. You can kind of see it actually running right up there towards Derek. Had a little scrape down there, but I'm kind of just walking down through here, half looking for a shed, half looking to just see how are the deer using this. Is there a good bedding opportunity? Which, as I say that, there's a bed right there. And again, kind of really capitalizing. It doesn't look huge. Well, it's not bad actually. Probably a little doe bed, but I don't know, pretty wide. Recent though, probably from this morning. There's another lot way up there, back here, I guess over there, but you can kind of walk this thing. It's just a wall going down through here. It looks like, you know, kind of similar to like I talked about in that last video. You've got water, you've got floodplain, and then it goes up another 10, 20 feet. And this is kind of where the action's at. So finding those elevation lines where it seems like the deer want to cruise and they want to move through. You'll obviously find deer, you know, going up and down in the mix, but bedding here
pretty good idea why, especially in the late season like right now, catch a lot of sunlight. I'm really excited to get up by Derek though. Back in the summer when I was out here, there's a big draw that kind of runs up this way, and it was one of those spots that you drop a pin thinking, I bet there's a scrape up there. And as soon as I got up there, within about 5 yards of my pin, there was a massive scrape. Of course, the camera on it, but still, always feels good to have that happen. So I'm gonna keep poking around down in here. Saw a couple rubs, but nothing. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if we jumped one out of here. Although Derek and I have been yapping pretty loud, so I doubt that'll happen. But, and as always, when I'm scouting new stuff like this, an area that I've never been, my go-to is always having the tracker feature running on Onyx. You can always go back and edit and trim stuff out, but that's kind of funky. Sort of like a little micro hub right down here. And I do know it's really shallow in this river bottom. So for that to, you know, a deer could pop right up here. I guess I don't know where they'd come from now that I'm thinking out loud here, but can easily come up here, work down through this. A little surprised there's not a scrape here, but there were plenty of them further up, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's where the majority of them are. Still plenty of trails leading up into bedding right over here. And there's a little scrape right there hanging off of that branch. Nothing crazy though. It's the only downside of scouting in the snow. You know, it shows you a lot of things that you can't see when the ground is bare, but it does hide a lot of those ground scrapes. But it does show you a lot of those beds, especially late season beds, obviously. Another one tucked right up in this deadfall here. I would kind of anticipate doe bedding just based off of the lack of sign in here so far. Another bed right there. Got a thorn where I don't want it. And kind of another neat little trail. Lost sight of Derek, but I'm assuming he's up in there somewhere. But I'm gonna keep looping down around this. It's actually a spot that this is that draw that I'd been to back in the summer where there was that big scrape, so I'm curious to see what else I can find down there. It was hotter than blazes when I was down here over the summer. Just about had a heat stroke when I was in there. So I didn't get to do, it's a nice rub, old rub right there. I didn't get to do a whole lot of scouting, poking around in there like I would have wanted. But that's kind of one of the things that Derek and I have been talking a lot about today.
All right, I just came down. Last video I took, I was coming down that hill there, up into this little bit older stuff. And I worked from the point up and didn't really see anything until I got right about here and I started to notice a couple rubs. There was a couple rubs on this side, small trees, but pretty decent rubs. And I kind of squeezed over to this side and I found a couple little clusters here. This is a rub from last year and then a couple of rubs from this year. And they're all clustered real close together, which if you've listened to any of our other stuff, rub clusters are always kind of the key giveaway that you're close to the buck's bed. So these look like they're married fairly early season. I don't think this is a great big buck. Rubs are all fairly low, but there's definitely some buck who is using this little wooded point as a bedding spot. We're right about at the upper transition here where it turns into oaks, which makes perfect sense why he's got these rubs right here. He's probably bedding down on this point. There's another one over there. Bedding somewhere either in the gully or on this point, working up toward the oaks in the evening. And before he goes out into the open oak timber, just collecting falling thermals and killing time, killing daylight. Waiting for it to get nice and dark, getting a nose full of what's above in the oaks, and then heading out and feeding in the oaks would be my guess. So, not the size we're looking for, but kind of cool to find anyway. So, Pierce is coming up from the bottom here. I'm just gonna snoop around this point a little bit more, see if I can find anything good.
One of the things that Derek and I have been talking about quite a bit is finding areas that have this bottom. Oh, that's wax just everywhere. Makes sense when you got a super, I mean, shoot, that thing died. That's been eaten the last 24 to 48 hours. Thing's still flexible. That thing is just picked clean. Big coyote tracks down here. I'm sure there's some bobcats running this bottom too, but kind of a cool area over here. And this little bowl, this property's got a lot of those. Spilling out down towards there. I'm gonna follow this up. Kind of see what I can find here. At the very least for an access point. Those coyotes were, I might have just bumped them off of that thing for all I know. Those tracks are super fresh. It's kind of crazy. It's like the 4th dead deer we found in here today. It's kind of a funky little washout here. But this looks a lot different than it did. A little rub deep in there. This looks a lot different than it did back in the summer. Which is kind of the importance of scouting these properties. You know, if you have a piece that you're confident in and you want to spend a lot of time in, you know, not being afraid to, let's see, how does this thing work? Sorry. Not being afraid to dive in throughout different times of the year, especially if it's somewhere you got confidence in, you've got some trail camera history with or something, or even you just find, you know, a big shed or a big set of tracks, or you just want to learn more about it. Like, scout it when there's snow on the ground, scout it when the snow melts, scout it in the summer, get a feel for what the piece is going to look like throughout the course of a season. You know, obviously when it's got green foliage everywhere, it looks a hell of a lot different than it does right now. I mean, I can see forever in here, whereas this summer I couldn't see hardly anything. And so, you know, take advantage of the snow so that you can identify those beds, really pick out the trails that they're taking in and out of those beds, and then, you know, once the snow's off, that's where you can really key in on those scrapes, even more so than you can this time of year. So I'm in this kind of thick bench, big cliff back behind it, but it's right up above this draw where there was kind of a tractor trail, but most are just like a washout. But over the summer, I found a massive hub scrape down in here. Unfortunately, a Tasco, like I mentioned earlier, but for that kind of pre-rut time frame, you know, bucks are obviously looking for that dense cover where they can still monitor quite a bit, but especially when they're trying to monitor those scrapes. I mean, this buck is clearly bedded right here. You know, worked up these trees, as well as another tree right there. Gives him tons of cover. Really tough to see if you're down below him, and you're sure as heck you're not going to get up behind him. And if you do, down he goes, out and away. So we can monitor just about everything and also catch those falling thermals from the doe bedding up above him, hopefully falling off those cliffs on a north wind. And yeah, as everything starts to trickle down into this bottom here, if does are coming up and they're hitting that scrape, or other bucks are, he's going to keep tabs on that throughout the entire day. So they're kind of working off of this hub scrape here. I was just going up the hill to meet up with Derek, and as I'm kind of scampering up this, I noticed that like the same elevation line as that other shelf right over there above this drainage where I just found that buck bed. Coming up this, that tree's torn up. A bunch of trees going right along this elevation line are torn up in the same fashion. So I'm assuming they're either hitting that scrape and coming right up here or even up there. Or they could even be, I'm sure this is not the only hub scrape down here, but I'm sure they're bedding right off of this knob here.
Is that right down there, the scrape?
Yeah, that big open spot down.
Beautiful flat.
Yep.
Yeah, there's definitely a buck laying up here.
Sure.
There's a cluster, a bunch of rubs right up above here, just below the property
Okay.
line, where it changes.
They're
like,
pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you were seeing too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like right on
Not
this.
a huge one.
Yeah.
Not huge, but
Yeah. This one was like right on this shelf that like even with us here, but down right over, I mean, literally it's like, that's a scrape. He was just up above it over there within, I mean, 15, 20 yards of it.
rubs in the bed.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. All tore up. The same kind of thing though. Like that little rub line coming up out of it and down through here. Same thing over on that other bench right there.
That top up there might be good too.
Yeah.
It's like a sweet little saddle
Yep.
on the mount.
Yes, there
I had
is.
a pin there. You want to walk over there quick?
I think we ought to. If we're this close, I mean,
Let's do it.
we'd be fools not.
Yeah, there's 3 right here. Oh, yeah, I see yours too. Another one in front of you and one to your left. Pierce just took a video down at the hub scrape down there. I found that rub cluster on that hillside. And we came down this bottom and there was some pretty good sign. And we spotted some nice rubs. There's 2 over there. 1 right here. Here's one. Here's one. This these older cuts, man. Bucks just love this older cut. There's a big one down there.
But here's the question, Derek.
Yeah.
How would you hunt it?
Well, I think it'd have to be an evening hunt.
Yep.
Probably near that hub scrape, hoping that they just, you'd have to get in super quiet.
Yeah.
Because they could very well be bedded anywhere
Yep.
close.
Well, as we found back there.
But you said that one was like right above it. Here's a bed right here. Another rub over there. Come on, let there be a just massive pair of match sheds out here.
What I'm finding is that Derek really, really likes sheds. So I'm kind of kicking myself for not bringing a good one along just to plant for him, especially over on this flat. But as we're going through this buck bedding, this really thick old cut, if we're going to find a shed, it's going to be here.
Going up here, there's a trail that crosses this bottom. But you can see all these old ones, new ones. This one over here is actually pretty good. It's not rubbed much, but he was picking on a good tree. Another rub down there. But look at all the,
little cluster back there.
look at all these, yeah. All along here, dude.
Good grief.
Look at all these frickin' rubs. I mean, makes sense when this is the thickest stuff I've seen all weekend.
Yeah. They kept going up over that knob too. Look at that one.
That old one there, you almost rubbed it in half.
Yeah.
Which one are you looking at?
Behind it, dude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then when you turn around, you can see a whole bunch that you didn't see before because they're on the wrong side of the tree. Oh my gosh, look at all these fucking... Over there. This one got rubbed in half. Oh, look at these big ones on these popples.
Yeah.
2 in a row.
What kind of tree is that?
These are popples.
Are they?
Yep. They're like the first tree to grow back after you log something usually.
Okay.
That one's been rubbed a number of times. This one too, another signpost.
I mean, they're here for a reason. Like, this is the very, very back edge of this piece. Like, the only way you're getting in here is either walking well over a mile and a half.
Because that south parking lot is pretty freaking far from here, right?
Yeah, you got to do that. You got to cross the river. You got to do.
My gosh.
You don't want to be back here. And even so, you get back here, looking at what we got to work with in terms of like trees, it ain't much.
No, it's pretty limited, which is another reason they're safe.
Yep.
Goodness. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Look at these freaking trees. Huge one down there. My goodness. All right, so Pierce and I just found the frickin' honey hole of rubs, at least. We're assuming that they're wrapping, well, this is on the east side, and then on the west side also had a rub line. We're assuming they're kind of wrapping up onto this, there's like a knob up above the river that we're assuming there's gonna be some bedding on. So we're gonna check that out.
It's weird how you still have those deer, like this little trail that cuts down, leads over to that other rub that we saw down in that drainage. Like, they still are just cagey. You find the one that wants to just stay in the cover, and he's gonna stay in the cover.
Right down there is a pretty tall one. It's not like rub, it's all just scarred up.
Yeah.
Next to that bigger dark tree.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, oh man. Oh, that is another giant. Dude, walking is difficult right now. Not to be too graphic to the viewers, but as a rub guy finding this, my pants just got tighter. Sorry if that's too much. If you don't think that that's appropriate for this time, then you don't understand what you're looking at. Another one right there, yeah.
Small, but like looks like a doe bed.
Frickin'.
Yeah, bunch of bedding up in here.
Yeah, you're right. This is, gosh, that's impressive. Dude, there's another huge one right up above you that's rubbed from this year too. You'll see it. You walk 10 feet and look off to your left a little bit.
Where's Waldo? Now I feel the pressure to spot it.
Right in front of you. We're on the back side of the tree here. This one right here.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
Another big tall one.
Dude, same game.
They're just rubbing the same freaking trees.
Okay, like, so like the top is, like, I'm 6'2", and that's to my bottom rib.
It's not bad.
Good Lord.
It's not bad.
Oh.
My heart's beating like a little faster. There was no camera on that hub scrape below?
There was one.
A camera?
Not right now, but there was one
earlier
in the summer.
We jumped that deer out of here. Yeah, running tracks going this way. Please. Please. Definitely a couple down on that point.
Yeah.
Dude, this is wild.
It's not like trees, man.
He's helping them do that habitat work.
Yeah. Well, and like, I remember from earlier this year, like, it's not impossible to get down any of these little drainages here. It's steep, but I mean, I would imagine he's probably, if he gets bumped from any direction, he's probably going to go laterally into the bigger ones and go straight down the front. But there's a little bench that wraps right around there, and this is all south facing. So as soon as that gets lit up, I mean, he can sit on this literally all day and have a couple beds here in the morning, a couple beds there, and then go over to that west side for the
for the evening,
If he wants
and then
to.
probably drops into that scrape. We're into that valley up to the acorns.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's got it made.
this
That's
would
for sure.
this would be if you had good conditions, like a cold day, you know, when things are starting to heat up, you could catch them slipping out of here. You just have to get in real quiet and.
It'd be so tricky too, though, dude. 'Cause
Yeah.
You have to, especially if it's on the west side. Like if you'd
have to have a very
thermal.
calm day and just count on those thermals because it's so tight down there that you're gonna get a lot of swirl.
Well, that's like you said, you have to be so quiet, but also like your window is so small getting in there as soon as the sun dips behind that ridge and that gets cold enough to start sucking thermals down for him to get in there. Like you got to be splitting hairs to kill him coming out of this bed.
That's how it's done.
Yeah.
That's how they get them. That's what they tell me.
Can't believe there's some shed in here, though.
What a cool spot. Just a little sanctuary.
All right, sometimes you find a buck bed that is, I mean, you find a buck that's just got it like completely figured out. So this is I guess a point on that same knob, that little rise that Derek and I found all those crazy tall rubs in. I just found another one right here that, again, I mean, that top tick mark really all the way up to here. I mean, it's like middle of my ribs at that point. So this thing's just a freaking hammer. And Derek made a point, because he was over on this other face over here, that he found a cluster of rubs, but they weren't all that big. But that's because the big dog lives over here where the cover's the best. So like this was all logged a couple of years ago, and it's all popples. And on this point here, we've got a big red oak, a nice little clearing, and some cedars. So he's literally got the most coverage he could possibly want covering his back door. He's got red oaks that he can feed on if he so pleases. And he's also got cedars that he can bed up in for thermal cover to kind of tuck him out of the wind. Or if he wants to scoot down a little bit further and catch some sunlight, he's got a nice little opening on this flat where he can do just that, all with a hub scrape literally like right down below him, so he can catch that as the sun hits it. Like this dude just has it freaking made. And Derek and I were just chatting about it. I don't know how in the world you would get this buck killed unless you had a perfectly calm day. And even so, your window to get in there is so small, where you'd have to sneak in there quietly. You'd almost have to hang a preset or something the day before, or even that's risky. But you got to get in so freaking quiet, and maybe like late October time frame, you could catch him dipping down out of here to go check that scrape before he runs this bottom scent checking stuff. But he's going to be a tough one to get killed.
All right, so up there on that little bluff is the ridge top that had mega rubs. Mega rubs. And right now I'm down below it. Mega rub ridge. And this was the little rub cluster ridge. Up above is a bunch of oaks. Oaks up there, oaks up there, oaks up there. I think that this spot right here would be where I would run a camera. All sorts of trails dropping in here. Right in the thick of it. I'd hang some kind of limb from here, right in this open spot. And then I would throw my camera probably right over here. I think I'd probably put it right over here. I'd throw my camera right over here somewhere. Have it watch that scrape and where all these trails drop down. I think if you made a nice big mock scrape there, there's already enough deer moving through here. You're gonna eventually get a picture of every buck that's using that and every buck that's using that. As far as hunting this is a tricky spot to hunt. It's very tight, steep little draws. You're gonna make your wind swirl, and playing the thermals would be challenging here also. But it's why the bucks are here. So a guy should really invest some time figuring out how to make that happen, because that's what we would have to do. Oh, I like the enthusiasm.
Well, it finally came full circle. We just started at the end instead of the beginning.
We did.
But so what we just figured out is we found all those clusters of rubs up there, kind of going on the backside through this little saddle. Derek wrapped back down this way. And I wanted to kind of walk that edge to see if there were beds kind of on this side where he might be able to catch a little bit more sunlight. And what I found was you got a big cluster right on this point on top of this rock here. You got a big cluster of red oaks and white oaks that kind of create this clearing where the forest floor is a little more open. And then you got a bunch of like cedars that are maybe chest to shoulder high. So you're going to have the opportunity to not only mill around and eat the acorns that have dropped off of that.
Heck
you
yeah.
also have bulletproof. I mean, the buck in theory has bulletproof, you know, coverage behind him where he's going to hear anything coming from behind. He'll have thermals rising up off the river coming up to him. And then on top of it, in the winter when it is cold, he's got those cedars he can bed in, create a little bit more thermal cover.
Yep.
He can hang out there, hopefully not expend as much energy. And then that sucker just creeps right. It looks gnarly to us from down here, but going down it actually wasn't that bad. But he'll drop right down off of this point and either go down straight into the bottom and then loop up the bottom of this draw where it kind of washes out and then comes up this way. It's this hub scrape. Or if I were him, I would imagine he's probably going to go straight down into the bottom, dip down further because he's going to be able to smell this hub scrape anyways.
From down there.
From way down there, yeah. And then in theory, he can probably just pick whichever direction he wants to go because then he's got a drainage up that way and he's got all the other drainages over this way. So
how do you kill him?
I think further down, honestly.
Further down close to the river?
I think kind of like we were talking about. Like if you try and get in here, it's going to be so much tougher. But
yeah,
if you get a strong, I would say if you got a strong west wind or east wind, really you can play it either way. If you get a strong wind or even just not even that strong, or just you can get in on that
and
bottom.
hunt down at the base of that ridge.
The bottom of that where he drops off of that point and just hope you get in there without him spotting you. Because in theory, if he drops down that way and you're over here, he might still see you over there. I don't think about it, but
well, when there's leaves on the trees,
yeah,
you might be able to. If you just went slow,
yeah,
took your time, you might be able to get in there. Man, is it a cool area though?
It's exciting, dude. I love when you bring one full circle. Literally, like.
So is this where the other camera was?
It was. I want to say it was on that tree.
Really?
Or maybe that skinny tree, because you can see those branches are all ripped off.
Yeah.
Right now. I'm pretty sure it was right down there.
Mm.
Yeah, it was there because I thought about throwing one right there.
Yeah, I was just talking to the camera before you came down. I was like, man, it'd be nice to throw one up right here and just monitor this.
Yep.
See what's using that. Yeah, it's a cool spot.
Sick.
They got it set up really good there.
Yeah. Too good.
Too good.
Yeah, it's like you almost have to. You can either. You'd probably get more sits out of it if you just waited till the rut and then hoped you caught him cruising, doing his thing. But
one of the other things you could potentially do too is if you got to a spot that was safe, right, where your thermals were dropping or whatever, you got to a spot that you feel like you could get in. And if it was calm enough, that's where I would like rake some branches with a, you know, like obviously he's laying down a whole bunch of rubs.
Yep.
There's got to be some level of competition here. So you get down here and make it sound like you're working a scrape and you rake that antler.
Totally.
You might be able to pull him out of that little safe spot.
Yeah, that's good.
And get a shot at it. Who knows?
That's super smart.
I don't know if I go that far. But.
I mean, no. Hey, all bucks die from a harebrained scheme.
Yeah, freaking awesome
like
spot.
that strategy a lot.
I'm glad we came over here.
Dude, same. Worth the extra mileage for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is like we said, this is the thickest, best looking spot that we've really found all day so far.
Yeah, I was really surprised when I hit this first ridge that there wasn't more buck sign in it, but then it all kind of made sense when we came over here and well, obviously the dominant buck is using this. So he's kicking off whatever 2-year-olds or younger bucks or whatever. They're bedding all around it because he's got the honey hole. So
it's awesome.
This spot's going to be burning in the back of my mind for a long time.
I'm excited to get up on top of that point.
I think it's going to look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Tons of stuff to eat.
Yeah, right? Like it's all young growth.
And then right up here, we got all those white oaks. I wonder if a guy could get away, if you could sneak in across that flat and get in one of those trees that are kind of close to that bottom little draw. I wonder if a guy could sneak in there, you know, because we just saw that trail coming across here, going there, and then if he comes down, I wonder if a guy could make that work.
I bet you could, man. Like I said, it's not.
I think if you just got up 35 feet right here, brought your 30-06, zoomed her up to 9 power, you're good.
To the first cover, if that's 35 feet, 30 feet up, so be it.
This would be okay because I could stop puffing and puffing into the camera for a second. What were you saying there, Pierce?
I don't remember. I genuinely don't remember.
Gosh, pretty spot.
Yeah, just like, I mean, you can imagine maybe there'd be some bedding in the CRP, but based off of what we found, I think it's more just kind of a highway to get to and from. I don't know, the deer beds down in that stuff, they're not really going to have a whole lot of running. Oh yeah, there's that turkey, you're right.
You see him?
It's a big bird.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of them. They're all the way to the left already. Probably a group of toms. That one looked big, pretty big.
Bird I shot this past spring, like, I wish I would have put a scale on him, dude.
Pretty good size. Was that here or a different spot?
That was a different spot, but still, just a gluttonous pig. This is awesome.
All right. Highlight of the day. Explain what we got here, Pierce.
Oh, we got a fresh baked, now fresh frozen cinnamon streusel muffin.
Fresh baked, only frozen once.
Yep.
In the car.
Dude, that's what I like.
You baked these yourself?
I did. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What a treat.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, so obviously we're back at the cars. You've been to this property before, but we explored a couple areas maybe you hadn't been.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, what are your thoughts for what we found today?
Super encouraging.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this had me, I was excited to come back out here, especially after that week of hunting, but being able to cross the river, get into that Oxbow, learn more about that, and the fact that, like, yeah, there's probably some private land pressure, but it's not coming from the public land side.
Yep.
Had
That's
me
huge.
super excited about that. Plus just knowing how these deer are going to work this bottom, you know, kind of where we found below the little buck house down there.
Oh yeah,
the
actual
squatter house. You know, down below that point down there, I'm super excited about that, and that whole scrape line, like we know, late October and through November, that's going to heat up, so I'm fired up for that. And I'm equally fired up for that spot in the middle, like kind of being able to get in there where we found all those rubs and not only find multiple beds in there, but also kind of track them out, and, you know, especially run the tracker feature to kind of get that loop dialed more or less.
I think when you made that last decision, like when we had kind of looked at it and then you decided, hey, I want to like just figure it out a little bit more, and you went back in and did what you did, was obviously huge to go back in and figure out that exit kind of down toward the bottom. So I think that's an area that, well, both those areas, I think if a guy ran some cameras in there for a season and just learned exactly what was going on.
Oh, for sure.
I have no doubt there's some big ones running around there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, we've already, that's the nice thing, we've already got proof of that, so now it's just figuring out how they run and dialing in the system from
And
there.
we found a couple pockets that were just super heavy with pressure with people, but then we definitely found spots where it didn't look like anyone had been there for 10 plus years.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's big too.
Yeah, that's the fun of it. That's why you scout this time of year, to be able to, you know, literally, I mean, the nicest part is being able to find those beds, see this is exactly where that deer bedded, and this is the exact trail that he took out. And then once we come back in a couple months, once snow is gone, hopefully, and we can see the ground a little bit better, then okay, great, let's start seeing which scrapes were actually good. So obviously we couldn't see the ground today, but which ones were the biggest and which ones were just kind of
drive-by.
Which ones still have looking branches intact and
Yep.
aren't just scared completely off?
Exactly.
We
yeah,
found
that
a couple bottoms that there was no looking branches available because they'd all been ripped off.
Yeah. Good problem to have, though.
Yeah,
I'll take
that's a
that
good
for sure.
sign.
Yeah.
So, well, dude, thanks so much for taking time today. It was
Dude,
a lot
thanks
of
for
fun.
coming.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, thanks for
Anytime
coming.
you want to do it again, let me know.
Yeah, likewise. We'll have to get you. We'll have to meet back out here. I think maybe in a month and
That'd be
actually
cool.
find some bones out
Oh
here.
yeah,
and-
yeah. I don't think timing's quite right for sheds, but
Yeah.
they'll be out. They'll be dropping them soon enough.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks for taking me to your honey hole.
You bet, dude.
Yeah.
Happy to have you.
Cool.
So one of the things I learned while scouting with Derek Malcore a couple weeks ago is that Derek's really keyed in on identifying tree species and knowing which species deer use and don't use. We were walking in and came by this popple thicket and they were just ripped to pieces. And it was on private on this access road. And he made a comment that like, yeah, deer love ripping up these things. They're called popples. And I was like, oh, dude, there's a thicket on the other side of this property that's just ripped up. And I was in there, I think first week of September maybe. That's funny, Derek just texted me actually. And I was in there first week of September. There were a couple small rubs, but there were a bunch of old ones. So I wanted to come back and see what I was working with in here, what was left in here from this year. And boy, am I mad that I didn't come back here in November. Got a bunch of historic rubs here, but I don't know how well you can see this stuff, but there is rub after rub after freaking rub all up in here. And by the looks of it, I mean, that top tine, I'm 6'2", and that's just above my belly button right there. We got a bunch of rubs up in there. A somewhat fresh bed, probably from this morning actually. Doesn't look very big, but coming further down into this staging area, a bunch of these trees are already dead with historic rubs from last year. But this year as well, nice and ripped up, same height. And this one caught my eye in particular. You gotta be kind of grumpy to dig in like that. But I would guess they're running this ridge probably in the evenings, because this is in a west-facing slope. I don't want to show too much, but this will catch sun, heat up, thermals rise. So it'd be a tricky one to get into because your thermals are going to be rising. But you can see there's a heavy trail cutting across here. Also, you know, I would imagine your best bet would be come up from the bottom and try and squeak into maybe that big tree there, or one of those other lower ones. You got plenty of back cover there to cover you. But yeah, I'll be I think dropping a camera in here this year. So I just found this big hub scrape that I didn't know was there. I'm on a corner of this property that I haven't been on. This is the same piece that I was on with Derek. But it's about 200 yards down the hill from me here, kind of over this creek bottom. One of the things that I found when I was scouting with Derek out here is most of your buck beds, at least the buck beds with the best sign, are right off of those hub scrapes where they can monitor what's going on there. And sure enough, got up, maybe gained 20 feet of elevation on this little flat here, and found a bunch of low rubs, little cluster rubs in here where I would suspect a buck might be bedding, so that they can monitor what does are coming through that hub scrape, what other bucks are coming in there off of that point over there, dropping down into this system. And then the main trail cuts up here and also kind of goes along the finger of this here. But combining that knowledge with Brian Dombrowski's signature rub theory in identifying bucks. Turkey's been going ham in here, by the way. Identifying bucks by their rub based on height, based on characteristics of what's going on with the bark, and kind of following that rub line back a little ways, you can figure out where you might be able to get that buck killed, either going to that evening bed to monitor those falling thermals as they're going down and working those scrapes, and also even in the morning where they're working through there and trying to go back to where they're going to be. This is on the same ridge that we found this knob with more rubs than I've ever seen in my life, as you'll see in Derek's video. But it's one of those things, you know, you put the pieces together, you zoom out a little bit from that hub scrape and look for those beds that are near it where they can monitor that area, and then figure out from there how you might be able to get an arrow in them. We'll see. So one of the things I might try and do, just looking at this area where we've got this big kind of open staging area, looks like there's plenty of down barbed wire across here from the private where deer are probably hopping over here. Bunch of historic rubs as well as new ones. Thinking early season, when you got a bunch of foliage to work with, it might take you 3 or 4 sticks to get up there, but if you can peek right up over the top of that, over this foliage here, and get into that tree, that might bode well for you. Otherwise, you might, if you want to get ballsy, maybe slip up in a saddle and hang off of this guy. But I like that better because you got your silhouette broken up by the ridge behind you, all the foliage up there. That's going to conceal a lot of motion there. The only thing you might have to worry about is some of these low guys here. But I think if a deer's at least back here or coming through here, it looks like a scrape actually on this lower branch coming off there. That might give you a crack right there to make something happen. Well, he comes down to either get into that bed or drop down and hit that hub scrape. So I'm drooling all over again coming into this bedding area, because I just, every time I come back here, every time I look from a different angle, I see another rub. And it's like right off the bat, I see this big old peeled out on historic. I mean, that's a freaking healthy tree. Plenty of rubs back up in here where he's kind of just hanging out, staging a little bit. I don't know if you can see that other one. Big one back up in there. Another little lay down one right there. Following this right up to an absolute freaking hammer of a rub, which actually leads directly to, my gosh, look at that thing. That is insane. Absolutely. I mean, that's to my ribs easily. Bunch of fresh tracks coming in and out of here. All does though. But yeah, you start getting up here where you know they're just pushing does around in here, banging them into trees and doing God knows what else. Same kind of thing, that nice smooth rub coming up here. Keep following this trail. I'm gonna take you guys right over to where we actually found the bed of this buck, because it's pretty freaking cool. Following along here. Try and get there, whoops, fairly quickly. As you can see, it's just thick in here. Especially when you got canopy on these trees. I mean, good luck getting a stand in here, let alone seeing anything in here. Some fresh ones actually. Might have just bumped them off of here. Yeah, right out. Here it is. Here's my sweet spot. Coming right out here. Same buck, same height. And it comes out onto this, one of the coolest beds I've ever found, in that it's got literally everything this buck could need. Nice little bed rub there. But it opens up into this clearing where we got a bunch of red oaks with stuff still on them. There's a couple white oaks in here. And a handful of these little shrubby cedars. So when it's real cold and windy like it is today, you got thermal cover, but you also can hang out right here, do your thing, eat acorns as they're falling. And straight down here, right off of that knob, is a massive hub scrape, and there's a trail that kind of leads out down into here, and another couple that wrap around and spill out down there. But buck's absolutely bulletproof. So now I've put the pieces together, at least, that he'll bed on this side when the conditions are right. He'll bed on the other side when the conditions are right, depending on what the wind's doing for him and how it's all working. But I mean, he can stay pretty much in an area where he's got a ceiling over his head until it gets dark, and none of us will be any the wiser unless we got a camera in here. So super freaking cool to finally put both sides of this piece together, and now I just got to figure out where I got to sit, right? That's the fun part. So I just confirmed another theory. That bed is right up there on the other side of this, and I thought when I was here with Derek that I saw a trail that was running down, dropped off here, came down into this bottom where these hub scrapes are, in kind of this big drainage system. And sure enough, I bumped some does in there, and wouldn't you know it, they took that exact trail. So good confirmation there that that is indeed how the deer use that spot.